Okay, in step 2 here, we've got our color background, we've got our subject cut out using a layer mask, and we've double clicked on the layer mask and gone to mask in the properties panel and feathered about 4 pixels right here. It doesn't have to be exact, but you know, this works too. It's just a visual check-in. You decide what looks good there. Okay, we just want a little bit of a blur to take the harsh edge off of it. We've gone through and used our paintbrush set to 45% hardness, painting in black to edit any mistakes we might have made in our selections around the outside. We can also invert that and do white to reveal parts that we might have made a mistake on. So if we go in here and paint in white, we can bring back the image. And we're ready to move on to the next step. So what we want to do is kind of control the color of our image. And this is not any particular recipe, although I'll give you some ideas of things that you can do. What you really need to do is come up with what looks good for your image. So for example, this photograph here is likely taken, like somebody shared a senior portrait is what it looks like, and they took a photograph of a photograph, so you get the shine on this side. It looks like it's taken from a printed photograph. And so I want to tweak the colors just a little bit and improve the quality if I can. The first step I'm going to do is I'm going to select an adjustment layer, and the first one I'm going to choose, actually let's try this. I'm going to try exposure for mine, and I'm just going to reduce the gamma here, and I'm just sliding the sliders around just a little bit to kind of see what my results are. You know, what happens when I do this? What happens when I do just a little bit of this? You know, and a lot of times just a little bit goes a long way. So I'm going to go a little bit darker here. Try not to lose the details of his coat. And then once I have that together, something that I like, so here it is without it, here it is with it. You can see it's just slightly darker. I'm going to right click here and say clipping mask, so it only affects this layer and not this layer. So clipping mask, this little arrow right here, when you right click and you say clipping mask, it makes that layer only affect the layer below it. Now if I add another adjustment layer to it over the top, it should be automatically clipped to the one below it. So the next one I'm going to do is curves, and this one is not it is actually not clipped, so I can right click and just clip it on there, and now you'll see it's only attached to this one. And I'm going to go through and I'm just going to do that really standard adjustment here, the S curve adjustment, and then what you're going to see is there's a lot of red in this. So if you check it out, in the curves there's a channel. It says RGB, red, green, blue. And if I go into the red channel, I can see where most of my reds are. And we can adjust the amount of those reds in our image. Just kind of reducing different sections here. So I'm going here, reducing this. And then I'm going to come back to my RGB and make some adjustments here. Starting to get a lot of shine on it. So let's see it without the curves. With the curves is pretty dominating here. I think my reds are a little bit over the top. I think I'm going to adjust those in a different way. So let's do this. I'm going to turn this one off. Let's use a different adjustment layer. Let's use the hue and saturation adjustment layer. Again, this one I'm going to clip to the layer below it, and then I'm going to adjust the hue. So I'm going to go away from red, this direction. We're just going to go a little bit. I'm going to reduce the saturation. There we go, it's looking better. I'm going to darken it up just a little bit. And then I'm going to turn my curves layer back on. So I have curves, hue and saturation, and exposure all working at the same time here to adjust the image. Now you can also choose, you can go, each of these layers has its own layer mask. So you can go in there and paint with your soft brush. And you can paint in the areas of the layer mask. Now I might reduce the flow so it doesn't happen quite so quickly, but I can bring back some of the details in my image if I mask out some of the exposure areas here. I might do the same in here. So painting in here. Yep, bringing back some of the details. A bigger brush. Okay, so now we can see more of the detail on this side too. Try to make it a little, maybe just a little bit darker. There we go. And you see I'm just putting a little bit. If I show, let me see if I can do it from here. Yeah, that's the mask that I put in just now. This is the other one for the exposure. This is the one for the curves. And the effect is we can see the image better. Another thing you can do is copy the background, and we can get in using our burn tool or our dodge tool to lighten and darken different areas of the image. So I'm going to go in with the burn tool. I'm going to turn the exposure down and come in here and paint a little bit with the burn tool around the eyes. I want to darken this area. Really want to pull focus to the eyes. Add in a little bit in here. And I'm going to use a tablet to do this. This works with the mouse, but I enjoy tablets. And since I have one, I'm going to use it. I'm going to reduce the hardness of the brush so it's soft edge. Trying to bring out some of the details of the eyes again. Eyebrows. And here it's going to get darker and darker. I want to make sure I'm not going, I'm turning down the exposure real low so that it happens slowly and I can let it build up. I don't want it to be super dark really fast. So there we go. I'm looking for other areas like the nose. Kind of redefine these areas here around the mouth. Remember, the shadows push the space back much in the way the leaves were overlapping. And the one on top was casting a shadow onto the one below it. So just adding some darkness in on some of the details here, including the hair. So adding some darkness. I'm going to switch to the shadows. Darken the shadows a little bit more. Oh, make the brush a little bit bigger. Just trying to improve the overall appearance here. Going real low here. I'm going to do some burning in the brighter areas down here. Try to make the darks darker in this low quality image. Okay. And then maybe switch to midtones. Address those in here. And then finally the highlights. Oops. Pull those down a little bit. There we go. And I'm taking some of that overly emphasized brightness there. Tone it down a little bit. Forehead. Darken just a little bit. I'm using this tool right here underneath the dodge and burn tool. It's called the sponge tool, and you can use it to saturate or desaturate an image. And I'm just reducing the flow a lot here. I'm going to try and take out some of this yellow tint that's happening in here. So if you see right here, his shirt, I know his shirt is white, but it's coming through kind of with a yellow look to it. So I'm going to use this desaturate tool to take some of that tone away. Bring back the white of his shirt. There we go. Okay. Better. So, before, after, before, after. I like it. I might do a little bit more burning around his nose. Again, real super light. And this is going to be a mid-tone. There we go. Slowly defining the shadows. see. Before, after. Looking good. Okay, so that's going to conclude part 2. A lot of this, just so you know, is just looking at the image and deciding what needs to happen. And then from there, if you need help, you can ask questions. But there's mostly working with our adjustment layers at this point, exposure, curves. I used hue and saturation. There's other adjustment layers that you can work with as well to try to reduce, change the overall tone of the image. Leave this red at 100. And that's weird. That is clipped, but it's affecting the background as well. I'm not sure what the story is with that. Clipping mask. Go up above here. No, same. I'm gonna trash that one. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up right there. You can use this to work on adjusting your image as well.